really do appreciate you guys watching, and hopefully from a muscadine perspective we can really expand our content with these new varieties. And I mean, we already had so many, but to be able to add even more, and especially some that were kind of hard to find. Dean Family Acres. Alright guys, so today we received our shipment of muscadines. I just want to thank a member of the Muscadine group on Facebook. I don't know that he wants to be named, but he and I actually connected over the UGA Tipton tour 2 years ago, and ended up becoming friends on Facebook and just kind of keeping up with each other. And I noticed that he had extra vines that he did not need to plant. So here we go. So we're going to open these up, see what we've got, and get them into some water to soak for about an hour or so, and then we're going to get them planted. So let's open up and see exactly what we've got. Looking pretty good. Let's open these up and see exactly what we've got. Thankfully the weather ended up working out just right on these. It's like he wrapped them with some, no, the papers do not help. He wrapped them some wet paper towels here, and then he's got them labeled. So let's see exactly what we have. A Lane, a Summit. Oh man, he sent more than I thought. Got another Palk, Delicious. And these do not appear to be labeled, so I'll have to ask him what they are separately in the bag. Oh, hang on. Got another one labeled down here in the bottom. Got a Fry. I know he mentioned having a Fry, and I actually don't have Fry, so that's one that seems like everybody has, but we don't have. So man, he sent quite the collection. Thanks very much. And we will get these soaking, and then we'll get them in the ground. Honestly, they still feel pretty moist, but I think it would be good to let them soak a good bit. It's supposed to rain here in a little bit over a day, about an inch or two. So this will be absolutely perfect timing. While these are soaking, what I will do is go get some of our compost together. I've got some rabbit manure. I'll also probably mix in a little bit of our pine bark soil conditioner just for drainage, because that area does have a little bit of clay once you kind of get down. And then we might need to evaluate where else we're going to put these, and kind of decide from there, and or potentially see if anyone else, we kind of just share the love. But we'll see. We really do appreciate you guys watching, and hopefully from a muscadine perspective we can really expand our content with these new varieties. And I mean, we already had so many, but to be able to add even more, and especially some that were kind of hard to find. Alright guys, so you might be wondering, what in the world am I doing? Removing this gate and kind of making some area here. Well, we've decided that in order to block some of the view that we've got out the back over here, we're actually going to plant a few muscadine vines at a higher height. Will this block things in the middle of winter? Not initially, but once they get bigger, then if you kind of let them bush out pretty well, then they can kind of block things just a little bit. We also are going to have a row of figs here, so it should not necessarily block a lot from the figs. They should pretty much get sun a majority of the day, and then that very late afternoon, very hot sun should be blocked by the muscadines. You might be wondering, well, doesn't something live over here? It does. However, the way I put this fence in, just in the future, I thought, hey, maybe I want to put some trees here, that kind of thing. We actually own beyond the fence. I'm not going to get in that debate. It's the way I did it. I did it for a reason. Sometimes I question that reason, but I did. So what we're going to do is actually put up an electric and or a wire fence that should also help keep the deer out from over here, because it will look like a 3D fence. So if you've ever seen any of that, I would definitely encourage you to check that out. That will be just one way that we'll be trying to keep deer out of our place this year. especially the sweet potato bed. Knock on wood, we didn't have any problems with that last year. However, I'm trying to do everything we can to prevent it. You also might can see behind me, the horses have been working this fence, and it's kind of time to keep them off of it. Not that the goats didn't work it as well, but it's just a little bit different when it's yours versus someone else's. We will get the muscadines planted on a couple of different areas and then kind of go from there. I'm going to try to plant them next to either a T-post or plant them next to an actual post. And since that we are going to have these at a higher level, I actually have a few 8-foot tall T-posts that we're going to be using right next to those vines. Number one, to hold the wire up, because we're going to have quite a long run. It's going to run all the way from there down. I forget how many feet that is, but it will make that whole run, and those T-posts will allow us to be able to make sure that we're securing that so we don't have a bunch of dips in the wire. So let's get started, guys. Alright guys, so we've been trying to decide which we're going to put where, and I'm just trying to make sure in regards to female and self-fertile. Remember, especially if you're only doing one row, they need to be within 50 feet of each other. So honestly, you could alternate if you wanted to, but that might make your furthest run potentially not quite as fertile if you're going to run them 10 foot apiece, within reason. So I'm going to put lane in the second spot. This is one we don't have. I've been pretty excited about, and I don't want to put it on the very end. I'm just trying to think about if we do have some females we want to put on this row. I'd like to alternate female, self-fertile. So kind of thinking towards the furthest down this way is going to get a little bit of shade, and the furthest one up that way is going to get the most shade out of anything. And honestly, we might be digging extra holes here today. So let's see if we can get this laying in the ground, and then we'll go to something else. Alright guys, as you can see, this soil has a good bit of clay content in it. It was fertilized pretty decently just from the amount of goats that we had over here before, but again, it still needs some help. So we're going to use 3 different things, and you don't want to amend your hole so much that muscadine never wants to get out of it. Some people say don't amend it at all. Honestly, personal preference. You just decide exactly how you want to do it, but again, I would not make it this super rich hole that it doesn't want to go anywhere. Pine bark soil conditioner, I'm going to do about a little over half a scoop of that. We got some rabbit manure and a little bit of mushroom compost. So kind of mix all those in. Honestly, that's a little more than I probably need, but I think just putting a little bit in there always helps.
Lane muscadine was a UGA release in 2012, and it would be a great early black cultivar for fresh eating or market use.
Alright guys, so we're going to get this lane in the ground and preferably keep the vine turned this way until I get the electric fence up, as you can see already. When you're putting these in the ground, you do want to try and spread the roots out as much as possible. Obviously, the size hole I've got, I can't spread them everywhere, but I can try and spread them a little bit of distance apart. And I also can kind of just dig and let them run in the soil that I haven't amended, which is totally fine. There we go. One thing to remember is muscadines have very shallow roots, so you definitely do not want to plant them super deep, just a couple inches below the soil line. Another thing that is often discussed is mulching or not mulching muscadines. Completely up to you in regards to what you would like to do. I would encourage you, at least for the first year, to probably put just a light mulch to keep the weeds back. In the long run, you do not want a heavy mulch layer, not multiple inches tall or anything like that, because the roots can tend to grow up into the mulch in some areas, and if they do, then you have a hard freeze and it might actually damage the plant. So think about that before you put a huge thick mulch layer on. Another thing of debate in regards to muscadine growers is whether they use these BlueX tubes or not. They can be a blessing, a curse, or people really just don't care. I think it depends on the plant, how willing and able you are to kind of get out and adjust and work. I found that these work absolutely great, if for no other reason than to keep deer from continually nipping those fine leaves all the way down to the ground. You do not want a lot of growth down here in the bottom, and that is the one downside of these BlueX tubes. It can be kind of aggravating depending on how you have them set up. The vines that we planted on our dog fence, I'll link that video right here, we actually use these BlueX tubes, and I turn the zip ties around backwards. One goes the correct way, and then the one goes inverted so that you can actually remove it, or find some of those removable zip ties that they have out these days. But what you'll do is put that in and put your tube where you actually can take this off, loosen it, and raise it up. That can be a problem in some situations, just given how your growth is and that kind of thing. If you're keeping it pruned down to one leaf, I can almost promise you it shouldn't be a major issue with a lot of growth in this tube. But it can be aggravating. I've been there, I've had some, they just insisted on growing inside the tube, and it was just a mess. I don't think that the tube was encouraging that growth. Honestly, it was just the pressure from the deer nipping those leaves for us. Some people insist you don't need them, they don't make a difference. They've run side-by-side tests that it actually makes it worse to have the tubes. I don't know that I necessarily believe that, because there's other research showing that it does help. I really just think it's your personal preference. If you have a little bit of extra money, go ahead and try these BlueX tubes. If you don't, why not? Don't worry about it. You can use some corrugated flex pipe in regards to like what you might see on a downspout, even though I don't encourage you to use that on a downspout either. But you might see that used around a vine as well. Honestly, I can tell you on that, the one benefit I've seen is if you've got someone that's taking care of your property for you and they do a lot of weed eating, and they're really want to make sure that they weed eat every single place, they'll kill a vine in a heartbeat. They don't pay it any attention, they don't really know, and if you've got a piece of that corrugated that's going to stick up maybe 4 or 5 inches at a minimum, then if they're going to weed eat around it, they're going to hit that and it isn't going to damage it. So that's just something to think about. For now, let's go ahead and get this BlueX tube on. Alright, that should be it, other than us just putting, like I said, a light level layer of mulch here. And what we'll do is actually just get some pine needles and put that down here. That seemed to work pretty well for us. Again, after that, you really do not need to mulch your muscadine vines, and you should be very careful about it. If you want to put a little bit on it, you can, but I would just tell you, be careful, especially if you're asking someone else to do it and they like to hill up things. Before you know it, you'll have roots growing all up and down your muscadine vine because they've piled up mulch super thick around it. So keep that in mind next time when you decide exactly what you're going to do around your vines. Alright guys, I figured y'all didn't need to see me scooping out different amendments for this whole same thing: mushroom compost, rabbit manure, and a little bit of pine bark soil conditioner. We're going to plant Summit here. It's a female variety, and we'll get it in the ground and kind of highlight a little bit about what Summit is all about.
Summit is a mid-season large bronze cultivar that was released in 1977 by UGA.
You'll notice right here we've got a lot of forking, and that's going to be a problem inside the blue tube, but for now I've always just learned when it's a bare root plant, there is no need to come in here and prune a bunch of stuff off. You need to see which one of these is going to be viable, and hopefully that it will shoot out. This is actually the one with the least amount of roots out of any of them. Alright guys, after looking at this Summit, I'm not so sure that it's going to make it. I think actually what I'm going to do, because the roots are so small, I'm actually going to pot this one, and we're going to plant something else here, and then if it does make it, we'll put it somewhere. But just in regards to, I've got more than I need in regards to holes, and I really do want Summit because that's one that I did not have, but I wanted to make sure that it's going to be viable. So we'll put it in a pot for now and figure out where we're going to put in this hole. Alright guys, so after evaluating, we ended up finding this fry vine, and I know that it's female, and I've scratched it and it is healthy, so we should be fine. Only interesting thing here is we've got 2 shoots coming off, so I kind of need to choose which one, but I think what I'll do is actually let this get established. We'll see which one leaves out and then print it off here in about a month. And you might notice how I'm kind of running this one kind of over this direction. I did the same thing with Summit when I thought I was going to put it here, but the reason that I did that is because right here is where our post is going to be, that we're going to let it run up once we get everything set up.
We're really disappointed that Summit was not an option for us, but its alternative is traditionally Fry. So this is a great female cultivar that was released in 1970 by UGA. Fry is usually the cultivar which all other muscadines are typically compared to.
All right guys, last two we're going to put in here. One is a Dixieland and the other, you'll just have to wait and see. Hold down. Now let's get it in the ground. Wow, look at the roots on this one.
Dixieland is actually an older release by Ison's Nursery back in 1976. It produces large bronze colored fruit, and it's very good in having yields. However, there is a lot of splitting, so it's not typically planted on a commercial scale. We're looking forward to seeing exactly how this produces and seeing how it compares to Fry, which is in its parentage.
Whew, got that one in. That was some big roots. All right guys, so last one on this fence row is going to be Delicious. And we'll talk a little bit about this vine as we're planting it. I just think that is a little bit easier than me trying to remember and think and do all that kind of stuff at the same time as getting this in the ground. So hopefully you guys are enjoying us adding these 4 new varieties to our place, and looks like there might be a couple others going in somewhere. So y'all follow along as we'll talk a little bit about Delicious, and after we get this planted we'll talk a little bit more about muscadines and what else we're going to be doing here. As you can tell, can't leave them just like this without doing some other infrastructure, because they would probably never make it above this fence line if they even make it out of the tube. So just continue to follow along in the video and we'll let you know a little bit more.
Alright guys, Delicious is actually a University of Florida release, so this will be the first University of Florida release that we have on our place. It is a large, self-fertile purple berry, and in its pedigree it has Summit, Fry, and Southland. So we're looking forward to how this produces, as it's actually a great early harvest variety with good yields and great disease resistance.
Alright guys, so that's the 4th one on this row, and what we've got here is Delicious, Dixieland, Lane, and Fry. And if I had to do it over again, I would definitely put the Fry where the Dixieland is, because it's a female, but you know what, it will be fine. Unless something happens with that Lane, it's not going to be a problem. It'll be plenty fertilized. So, but if you can organize it, think through a little bit, I would encourage you to try and put that female somewhere in between 2 self-fertiles. I got to run, guys, and I know I said I was going to talk about a few other things, and I will probably be back to talk about that in regards to what our plans are over here, because as I've shown you throughout this video, I can't just leave things like this or we're going to be having some major problems. So we will continue to work through that and keep you guys posted. I do thank you all for watching, and looking forward to the next segment. Alright guys, so we decided that we're going to put the unlabeled / unknown here at the end, and we know it's one of the varieties that was sent to us, just not sure exactly which one, or that's our strong assumption. I think the only other one that he mentioned that he had was a Hall, and I'm not sure if he sent one of those or not. So hopefully we can kind of figure out what this is, but it's down on the end. It's going to get the most shade out of all of them, so I think we will be okay.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. Hopefully you learned a little bit. Here's a great example of just checking these blue tubes and how you can make it work. Don't forget to like today's video, share it, and if you subscribe, don't forget to ring that bell like. That's right, Mike Tyson did in the 1980s. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hopefully y'all learned a little bit and learned about a couple new varieties that we hadn't really heard about much before.
Still C2.
Just do that. I'll come back and prune that later.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video as we added these unique muscadine varieties to our playlist here to your left with all of our muscadine videos. Don't forget to come back next time as we'll be working on the trellis for these muscadines.